I feel weak. I feel very weak. I feel like a fraction of who I used to be, you know? The thing about spinal issues, it's not just the pain that you're going through. It's not just that it won't go away. And you break your femur, dislocate your shoulder, like it's gonna get in traction. You're gonna get your shoulder put back in and it's gonna feel great. They're gonna put that rod and screws in it or fix up your shoulder, and then you've got a timeline, 6 months or 3 months or 9 months or whatever. But with my back, it's kind of just open-ended, I could have this for the rest of my life. This could be as good as it gets. Winning, it does something to a man. I don't know, but you're beating everyone. I was beating these guys I saw on TV, and that just fueled me to train. I was watching these guys. I wasn't even old enough to drink yet, but going out and drinking, and nothing too gnarly, at least from what I was seeing, or nothing too bad, but celebrating, enjoying it. And I thought, I don't even want to do that. I want to train, I want to get strong, I want to ride, and I just want to beat these guys, and I did. And I feel like I took the legitimacy of freestyle riders and how we prepare and train. I think that kind of started because I started doing that, and to toot my own horn a little bit, I started beating them. I started beating guys, and we can't go out and drink 5 nights a week and just hang out and do seat grabs anymore. We got to learn new tricks. Sometimes it still kind of not hurts me, but man, I don't have that in me. If someone beats me, I'm mad at myself. It's not against anyone else. I'm happy for my homie who just killed it, And I remember those times when riding my road bike every day, training every day, setting those boundaries so I don't, stay up too late or don't, miss my training in the morning or my riding this day, just being on it, being that focused and that, scheduled and sticking to it. I think it not even not liked doesn't encompass it. I feel hated by some people in my industry because of the effort I put in. What are you gonna do when you love dirt bikes and have since before you could look at a dirt bike and know that's a dirt bike, but you just look at that thing and think that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Now you're 20 and making a living at it, and found your niche, freestyle. And of course I'm gonna squeeze every last drop out of this thing. Like, obviously, right? I'm not gonna do that. So that was my mentality. And now I'm 35. I've got more medals than any other rider, and some golds in there, and I got a beautiful home and wife and family, and just think if the peer pressure of basically wanted me to stop trying so hard, what if that would have made me insecure to a point where I caved into that? And it would just be different these days. And then I like where I'm at. I like being able to think back over my career and say I beat the best when they were the best, and I became the guy to beat, and I still won. And even when I was past my prime, I still won a couple times. And I got this trophy room, and there's not a goal I set out to accomplish on my dirt bike that I didn't accomplish. I always felt like throughout my career I couldn't take time off. I couldn't, I'd have friends or my girlfriend, my wife now, girlfriend at the time, good friends say, man, you should take a month off, just like go on vacation. And I just didn't want to. I just loved riding. And I remember a couple times I said, all right, I'm gonna take 2 weeks off. I'm not gonna ride. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna, train lightly, not lose my base, foundation, fitness, all that. But I'm just gonna chill, man, veg out, maybe put on a few pounds, just really relax. And 3 days later, I'd be gearing up, like 2 days off. And then the third day, I'd gear up and ride again, because I just loved it. I wanted to ride. And I also had this, something I heard, Ricky Carmichael speak on once. It's like a bit of like a paranoia about not performing, not getting that sponsorship, not getting that ride. So I had that for fuel for a lot of years, a worry or a paranoia that if I didn't win, I'd lose that sponsorship or lose that ride, then I'd lose my house and I'd lose my foam pit. And I want to keep riding, and I want to do this for a living for as long as I can. And so I wasn't all confidence driven. Some of it came from doubts and a little bit of worry. You can come up top and start. Want to start from halfway? Yeah. Oh, you got it. I'll go get my bike. I spent 5 months and so much money just trying to find out what was wrong with my shoulder. I'd had the orthopedic surgery, and it was just my shoulder was getting skinnier and weaker, and it just wasn't healing. It just was not healing. And finally found a surgeon who ended up repairing my nerve at UCI Irvine, And as soon as I showed him my shoulder, he said, "Your axillary nerve severed." "How long has your injury been?" I said, "About 5 months." He said, he literally scheduled me for it was like a Monday. He's like, "Thursday, surgery." You're coming in, you're getting surgery because your nerve could be dead, and that's what your arm, how it is gonna be, that's it. I couldn't lift my arm up level. I mean, I couldn't put a dish away with my left arm. I was like, had a paralysis injury. It was nuts. Woke up from surgery, and the doctor had said he very rarely ever sees it happen. The nerve, usually they both retract up when it severs, but they were sitting right there about an inch apart, sewed my nerve up. And it's been a process. I don't have half of the shoulder I used to have, but I'm very thankful that I have more than what I would have as far as strength and muscular structure there if I hadn't got the nerve fixed. So I'm thankful I didn't just give up and say it is what it is, because I don't think if I wouldn't have had that nerve fixed, I think that would have been the end of my career. I was thinking like, okay, this is really serious, and I'm late 20s now. I don't really want to do anything besides dirt bikes, but I got to start figuring out something. And I'd already started Deft, but at that point, my partners in Deft who, were living at my house for free and, riding my dirt bikes, riding in my backyard. And I just had to start saying, I have to start collecting rent. I have to start taking a paycheck from Deft. I hadn't taken a paycheck ever. I mean, I was the investor for Deft, and that's just when I had to start really what I had built through the years as far as my brand and carried and floated my friends and my business partners. I had to start saying, okay, it's time to, pay rent. Not pay me back, but just, pay your way, pay rent and be responsible. Around that time, I was having trouble making the payments on my house with the foam pit and the course in the backyard, all that. I felt like attacked or something by life. I had that injury, couldn't ride as much. I was just started having some neck issues, spine issues, because I was compensating so much because I had no muscle in my shoulder, and I was, hiking in my trap and my neck and my shoulder blade. I was just in a lot of pain constantly. Things just started changing then, and I had to make some serious decisions on whether I was going to stay in that house and continue to train and make that push, or say, okay, I think this season of my life is all but over. I'm going to sell this house. I'm going to downsize. I'm going to move into just a track home, and I'm going to, instead of being the guy that's out on the skid steer and water hose until 9 p.m. with a headlamp on, I'm going to call my buddies and say, where are we riding? Or losing that house, it broke my heart. I felt like I don't know, I don't want to compare it to the loss of a friend or, a loved one or something, but I thought I was going to live there and raise my kids there and have room to, teach them how to ride in our backyard and shoot our bows and, shoot BB guns, whatever, just grow up having fun and living on a little land, and that didn't happen. But it's all my fault. If I had more, vision or discernment of things that, how life works and how you can't ride and win forever, I would have prepared better for that, which I do know those things, but it just happens to a lot of professional athletes. It's just everything's going fine, and it feels like the rug can kind of get pulled out from under you a little bit. You think you have a couple more years, there was a market crash, you lost your house, you think, hey, I'm gonna have a couple more years of making a few $100,000 a year, and boom, you have this injury and you don't, you're just done. these are my buddies. I started, these guys lived at my house for free. We started this company. I put in every dime, never took a paycheck for 3 years or more than that, more years than that. It completely floated these guys. And I feel like what they got from the success of Deft, which was a group effort, Deft was a group effort, they didn't get from their riding careers. I think they kind of got carried away by the notoriety they got from it. And I think their heads got too big. And that's where the separation of me to them, my 2 partners plus another employee, it just snowballed so heavily to where I couldn't mention their names in an email. If I was saying, great job on XYZ, that was really cool, don't mention my effing name in an email. To the point where, I'm the CEO, I'm the president, I'm majority owner, right? And they tell me, all 3 of them, if you mention us, email us, request anything, try to be a part of Deft anyway, it's running out of my house and they're all living at my house. We will walk and keep our ownership, which they ended up doing about a year and a half after this conversation anyway. I had already, up to this point, didn't know what to do. I was traveling 10 to 11 and a half months a year. I felt like I was the face of the company, like Deegan was the face of Militia. And I still wasn't taking a paycheck. I was still here and there putting money into the brand. But when it all went down and they finally did leave, I was hurt because I had friends who I felt were spoiled rotten brats and they were never a friend. As this all went down, I feel like the true colors came out, right? Like how they really felt to me, and I felt dumb, I was embarrassed. And when they all left, it's like I had 3 grown men who I put on in the industry, so people trusted, saying horrible things, untruth, completely unfactual, untrue things about me. And I was losing my house, dealing with a major injury, and trying to rehab, get back on my bike, and find a new house, and save my company. And it was just, I didn't have time to say to anyone, hey, this guy, and this guy, when you hear them talk, if they're talking, they're lying. Because lying and exaggerating is their native tongue. I didn't have time. I really didn't. I only had time to, again, laser focus, ride, train, work on my business, try to keep the athletes, because those guys were going around telling our athletes, I'm the horrible person, you can't get along with me, you can't work with me, I ruined the business. And all this time they're taking, Deft's intellectual property, our gloves and our not our marks, not our intellectual property, but our glove, our chassis, our what the company owns, and trying to start a new glove company. It was just, I had so many, like 1,000 fires I was trying to put out. If I had a buddy who gave me free gear, let me ride his dirt bikes, let me live at his house for free for years, gave me a job at his company, and then one day said, hey, my career's winding down and I'm gonna have to start collecting rent and put some responsibility of the company on you guys. I feel like I would not have one word of complaint. I would say more than fair. But I literally got told that I don't want to live at your house anyway. You can't give me any more free stuff. Man in his that just came out of his mouth, a man in his late 20s. I don't even think I responded. I don't think, this is a homie, I thought we were literally side by side everywhere. We were just awesome friends. And there was just this hurt that I realized, like I said earlier, I thought I moved to California. I thought I had a dozen friends. I thought we all loved dirt bikes and I was just having this, it was like dream time, But I realized I bought my friendships. And it's like, I struggle to mention those names because I wanna throw their name in the dirt where it belongs. But you wouldn't know who those guys are if they hadn't become my friends in the early 2000s. And I don't want to say their name in this interview. This might be something I call you and tell you, hey, take that out of the interview, because I don't even want their names in my interview. Their names should be in the dirt. The last 3 years, those guys ran the company. Deft lost. I think it was 52,000, 93,000, 100. Last year they ran the company. Deft lost over $150,000. Negative year end. How do you do that? How can it be so out of control? And again, and that's when the time was like, you know what? you can't keep doing this, and I can't say, what's worse than my partner's leaving, losing all this? Like, what's worse? And so that's when I just, started, really butting in again. And of course, it made him mad enough to leave. And some of our accounts, some of our overseas distributors, when I'd contact them, just told me there's no way they do business with me because of how my partners did business with them. It was like my partners were trying to ruin our business. How can you want the boat you're in to sink? I don't get it. I don't get it. And when they quit the company and left, we had our once a month conference call, which was the only time I was allowed to be a part of that company, or they were going to leave, which is ridiculous. And during this time, I was looking for investors or a company or a person to buy my shares out. But I realized that no one wanted to be a part of Deft without me. They didn't want to be partners with those guys. Man, I don't tell anyone this stuff, so it's kind of a lot coming out right now. I'm getting worked up, but I was a majority shareholder. I had all the, control, the rights. I'm the CEO, I'm the president. But when you have 3 people who each own a fair chunk, they owned almost 50% between them. And amazing, I'm getting mad enough to fight. I've turned the other cheek so many times with those guys. It's just incredible. I don't know how someone can do what they've done. If something's gonna go in my life, one of those jobs, it's gonna probably be Deft, which I want to say I'll never quit doing Deft, and in here I won't. But if this year, like I'm worried about with my health issues and just not being able to travel and ride and go hard like I used to be able to, this might be my last year making money on a bike, then come next year, it's got to do something. You got to have a good paying job, and it's not that Deft doesn't pay me well, but I work very hard on Deft. Speaking, just being real with you, I go up against some pretty big companies that aren't just glove only. So that being said, the amount of time I put into Deft, if I go get a city job or a job like that, I could probably make time and a half, 2 times the money. If I'd been where I'm at 25, like, no problem. But to be 35 and facing this reality, I might have to get my heart broke again and have to not shut Deft Family down, but just back it down a lot. Part of the process of going through all this, being really hurt by those guys, having the maturity and being man enough to say, it's my fault. It's all my fault. I hired him. I picked him. I hired him. I gave him ownership and paychecks in exchange for, sweat equity. As the company grew, not all at once. If you're the owner, it's your fault. I mean, should have been a better judge of character. Should have, not gone to some major contests and stayed home and looked after my company. But I don't know. I made every decision to start the company, to run it out of my house, to hire the guys I did, and that's my fault. And it's just a better, life's better when you have that mentality. And but I wouldn't give Deft up. If since 2009 has been anyone who knows everything that's gone on with Deft, that might be a problem, but I don't give up, and I'm not going to give up with Deft, and just keep pushing forward, and it's just a successful company, and I just want to keep climbing that ladder. I do want to be able to, perform it and be able to perform at my max again, and I can't. It's humbling, and it's to be able to operate, to have to operate at 70%. It's hard. It's harder than it sounds. You want to get out. You want to go hard. You want to, be strong. You want to, have your wife have confidence in you. And not that she doesn't. I know she does, but from my standpoint, it's like I feel weak. I feel very weak. I feel like a fraction of who I used to be, And the thing about spinal issues, it's not just the pain that you're going through. It's not just that it won't go away. And you break your femur, dislocate your shoulder, like it's gonna get in traction. You're gonna get your shoulder put back in, and it's gonna feel great. They're gonna put that rod and screws in it, or fix up your shoulder, and then you've got a timeline, 6 months or 3 months or 9 months or whatever. But with my back, it's kind of just open-ended. I could have this for the rest of my life. This could be as good as it gets, or it could get way better. I could be healed. I don't know. It's just a total, big question mark. And one thing about the spine and with the whole nerve issues, the sciatica and all that is, you break your wrist, you can still road bike or jog, or after a certain time after surgery, your incisions heal and all that, you can go be active again. But with my back, it's like there's really no set timeline, and as well is it affects your whole body, your whole nervous system. That's one thing that at the beginning, when I started having these issues, was really, really, really getting me down mentally, because I just felt, and I was just weak. I don't know how to explain it, but your nervous system is affected throughout your whole body. You're just weak. You're not as strong as you used to be. And as a man, I didn't think I was, that stuff just never, when you're strong, you don't think about strength, or when you're healthy, you don't think about health. And then when it's taken away from you, you think about it all the time, So that's a tough one. I just feel weak. I feel not strong, kind of slow, and I just got to operate at, 70% right now. And it's been humbling for sure. It's tough. And my wife, we've had this talk, as she feels like I never had anyone that close to me as my wife, obviously, but she knows me so well. She's pointed out that some things, like I got to be able to say, okay, I'm content with that. I'm content with this career. I'm content with a second. I'm content with, a 10th. I'm content with not getting an invite to that contest anymore. Again, I have a way out. I have the best family, and I have parents that'll support me, and my brother and my wife. I guess, for the last couple of years, since I had my shoulder injury, I've won X Games since then. I won with this shoulder. Like, I beat the best with this shoulder, and I just need to remember those times, because most of the time I'm thinking of, if this didn't happen, if my low back didn't happen, if this femur never happened, but it did happen, and I'm living with it, and I just gotta I'm so much stronger and so much more prepared for whatever is gonna happen when I'm taking that as the reality and not what I wished would have happened. So, I feel like I've actually had the talk just recently with my wife, and I feel like this, like I said, the heart and the mind want it, and I've even considered reaching out to my sponsors, like now, present time, where it's April 5th and contract season is, like October, November, December, and just saying, I know I've committed to these demos and these shows, but I can't. I need till July to just focus on my body. But even that just throws out a red flag. Is, I feel like, is Nate done? And it's like, but you got to be done sometime. So it's totally it's a cluster. It's a decision it's a scary decision, and it's pride too. I want to keep going. I don't want to say that I'm done if I can heal my body and still go out there and be, competitive. So I have all the support I need. I have to come to terms with that. I do have all the support I need, and any other competition or injury or anything that I do or sustain on my bike it's on me, for better or worse, you know?
Is it worth it to you?
It used to be. And I don't know if it is anymore. Part of me says yes, but I'm hearing my little guys downstairs, and it's just, they're so much more important than any other, achievement. Achievement. There's no other achievement than raising those little guys, and nothing's guaranteed, but doing my best to make them, the best that they can be in life.